Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back. Today, we are diving into the number one thing that, if I could share anything with you, is the most important thing you could ever do. Aside from speaking to the subconscious, this is like a key component of it, which is your self-image. And I'm going to be breaking down on this video different ways that this can be blocking you and holding you back, as well as just like why it's so important, because it's probably the most commonly overlooked thing, and it has changed my entire life, focusing and prioritizing shifting that. And it's been so transformative for my clients and for anyone I've shared it with. So we're going to be diving into that, and I invite you to have an open mind, because if you are new to mindset work, or if you're new to the self-image kind of identity shifting concept itself, there might be parts in this that trigger you a little bit, but it's probably triggering your current self-concept, your current self-image, and this is what we want to change. Because if you're in a current situation, let me just get right into it, okay? Okay, when you see someone who is like incredibly confident in their body and like super sexy, and you see them and you're like, whoa, look at that person. I will bet that probably 99% of the time, they personally have been investing or working towards their physical appearance, right? It wasn't that they were just absolutely stunning and born this way. They probably made shifts along the way. They prioritize the things that they're eating, the ways that they're moving their body each day, right? Are they getting enough sleep, enough water, etc., etc.? So when you see someone who is super sexy, you're probably like, oh, you might not be, but I do, because this is how my mind works, is I'm like, oh, they probably really value their body and their appearance. Obviously, this can go to the full extreme of like vanity, so let's just ignore that. That's not what I'm talking about here. But they have a level of value and appreciation about how their body looks, which is why they are prioritizing it, why they're making difficult changes or focusing on all the things I just mentioned. And what this brought up for me is like all these different layers of certain beliefs that I personally have struggled with in my life, that have been a part of my self-image, my identity, my concept of myself. So this thing in the back of my mind that is dictating how I see myself every single day. I had the thought about like a person who values their voice, or no, a person who speaks very confidently all the time probably values their voice. A person who is like successfully doing a certain business venture, they probably value it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it and they wouldn't have gotten to where they are. You see someone who's in the most loving, incredible relationship. Well, they must value the importance of that relationship in order to be where they are. Or as I said, the physical appearance and the body, you'd have to value it in order to get there. And how this plays into your current self-concept is that if there is something that you are struggling with and you are not where you want to be, I invite you to look at the ways in which you have either pushed that aside and not given it priority, or the ways that your mind is maybe telling you it doesn't matter or it's not possible for you. Okay? Because this is all just your self-image, and your self-image can change. And the second you change the way that you see yourself, or the way that you believe yourself to be, is the second you start showing up differently and taking those new actions. So I'm going to share an example for all of these because that's going to help run it home and like help explain how you can do this for yourself. I used to eat horrible diet. I used to only eat sugars and processed foods and like gluten, baked goods. I didn't eat a single fruit or vegetable, like tiny exaggeration, but I pretty much didn't eat any until I was 18. I lived off of meat and rice and pasta, pizza, ice cream, cookies, banana bread. Like I lived off things that were not green or not fruits, not as nutrient dense. Okay. Now, I ended up having such extreme, not only I had horrible acne, horrible digestive problems, horrible mood swings, and all these different health issues that good old Canadian old school doctors did not ever really look back at my diet towards. In hindsight, to me, it seems incredibly obvious. But at the time, that's not how they were taught to study or question things. So they just thought it was, oh, it's just this, or it's just like your hormones, or it's just like we should put you on these kind of medications or do this thing. And I was like, hey, this is very strange. I ended up with extreme chronic pain as well, chronic fatigue, and as I was playing university volleyball and high level sports before that, I just was in such intense physical pain that even though I was going to massages every week, chiropractor, acupuncture, physiotherapy every single day, I had no relief. And it wasn't until I realized that maybe I need to value my body because something's going on here. I shouldn't be in this much pain at such a young age. I shouldn't have all these symptoms. And I started valuing the foods I was putting in my body because I realized if I'm doing all these external things and nothing's getting better, then clearly it's not the external that's the problem, it's the internal. And I did a live blood analysis. I saw um, all the sugar crystals and yeast crystals in my blood. I saw how deformed my white blood cells were, how hard they were working to try to purify my blood. And the woman said, they don't have any energy to like go to your muscle pain or help with repairing all these like tears and things that I had because they're just trying to purify your blood. And she was like, you need to start eating greens or doing green juice, like starting to supplement your diet because you've spent 20 something years without eating any of this and your body's paying for it. And it was a really quick shift in realizing that I needed to focus and value something different. So my whole self concept, my whole identity for all those years had been, I don't like fruits and vegetables and I eat these things and I was truly addicted to sugar and like kind of proud of it. It just was like, whoa, this is what I eat every day, right? And I had to choose, am I going to continue to be this version of me, this identity, and continue to take those actions, or am I going to place importance and value on taking care of my body and alleviating these symptoms? And fortunately, I've always been a holistic thinker, so I made the changes and I started incorporating these different things. And I noticed my body changing and a lot of the symptoms going away. All these like amazing things came because I changed my self concept and eventually going vegetarian, going vegan, sugar free, gluten free, processed food free, um, alcohol free, like not really any caffeine, a coffee here and there. But everything had to change for me to change. And so that's why when you hear things by, law of attraction experts or manifestation people, they often say the inner creates the outer, it all starts within. and you have to see it within first. That can be within your physical body, but it can also be within your mental body and your psyche. And if I didn't learn how to see myself as someone who cared about her health, I would have just continued doing things the way I was doing them and accepting that as normal, as I had for so long. I just truly believed that level of chronic pain was just how everyone lived, because it's how I had lived for so long. And when I started, quitting sugar and eating more grains and stuff, and I felt myself wake up with energy in the morning and not have body pain, I was like, I've never felt this way. Like, this feels so amazing. And it allowed me to continue valuing the changes to keep moving forward. Let's share another example with purpose and mission and like career. If your self-concept sees yourself as only good enough for the bare minimum, or like, I've been in this job for so long, this is all that I'll ever be. That was me working at my dad's garden center as well as waitressing for years and years. And I was a university dropout, so I had this belief that I wasn't educated and I wasn't capable of more. And there was the part of me in that self-image that was like, this is who I am. And this is what I do each day. This is how I show up. This is what I tolerate from other people treating me really disrespectfully, because that's part of the industry and that's what is acceptable and normal. That is a certain identity. And it was only when I started to value the opposite that I began to make the changes. I had to value that I don't want to feel that way every day. I don't want bosses or coworkers harassing and abusing me. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want to be like selling my soul in a sense for money when I have so many beautiful qualities that I would love to be sharing with the world. And I believe I deserve to be compensated while just being me and like showing up and sharing in that way. So I had to shift from years of programming and identifying with one self-image to start to shift to the concept of like, this is who I am now. I show up and I create and I help other people. I give back. I'm sharing my knowledge, all the things I've learned over the years, right? Really starting to then build and expand a new self-image. And when you start to do that, it becomes really natural and easy for you to take the aligned action, because you're seeing yourself as, I'm a successful coach, or like, I'm a successful self-employed, person. These are the things I do each day. This is how I spend my time and energy. This is what I focus on and prioritize. You are stepping into a new version of you. And we ultimately have like infinite possible versions we can choose. But your self-image and how you see yourself is very often going to dictate which one you choose. Because if you feel unworthy, or if you're still stuck in something from the past, you're not going to step into the new thing. You're going to continue to identify and cling there. And I've seen this from working with hundreds of women throughout my courses and my quantum healing, is that if they continue to cling to the old identity, they will stay there. I see this with women who go through Thrive. It's my 3-month program where we basically are clearing out the old programming, clearing out the beliefs that are limiting you, building confidence and reprogramming your mind to see yourself in a new way, aligning with your higher self, stepping into that new identity and creating that new version of you and your life. And there are women who make insane strides in 3 months because they're willing to let go of who they thought they were, which the ego doesn't always like, because it's like, I've spent so many years believing myself to be a certain way or holding these limitations, and now you're telling me I don't have to hold them? And like, it's triggering sometimes because your ego wants to keep holding them. But if you're willing to say, actually, yeah, I'd way rather be over here, and I see that other people are over here, so clearly it's possible. It might not look the exact same. My path might take longer, might have more bumps. That's okay. But I know that it's possible. So if I were to be over here in this different career path, and I would say I personally applied this when I was quitting my 9 to 5 to start my coaching business. It even came into play when I was dropping out of university to go travel the world by myself for a year. And it was like, if I were to become that person, like, what would I be valuing? What would I be prioritizing? So I'm over here staying in my identity of the volleyball player because that's who I think I have to be, sacrificing my happiness, struggling in school, not knowing what I want to do really. But my biggest dream is to be like traveling to these different countries, working with elephants, scuba diving, like jumping out of airplanes over Australia, these things that I had dreamed about for a long time. And in order to bridge the gap to get there, I had to change my self-concept. Because the university athlete who's doing these things to fit in or to appease society's standards, she doesn't do those things, right? It's a huge disconnect, which is where the ego can get so overwhelmed. But if you start to, through meditation, through breath work, through mindfulness, and just daily reminders, through quantum healing hypnosis, through the deeper reprogramming practices, if you start to see yourself as, I'm the solo traveler, I'm the like courageous woman who's going and doing these things and living out her dreams and checking off all these boxes and not afraid to be out here living a very different life. And I value the freedom, I value the pure joy that I feel in my heart, and that is more important than what I'm currently valuing over here, which is fitting in and pleasing people at the expense of myself. When you shift that, it becomes so easy to just take the actions and go make it happen. Okay? So your current limitations and the current things that you're struggling with, whether it's health, whether it's money, whether it's like confidence, relationships, career, look at how your self-image is and what is the current image you have about like who you are, what you do, what you're capable of, and what's normal. If you look in the mirror and you think, oh, I suck at relationships, I suck at speaking up for myself, I've shared that before, and that's where this this breakthrough for me was like, yeah, if someone was really empowered in their voice and always speaking their truth and just naturally sharing it with confidence, obviously they value it. Like, it's natural to them, it means a lot to them, it's just a core part of who they are. For me, I've always valued it and I've always felt like it's what I'm here to do, but I had so many traumas and so many different things and then so many beliefs created around it that my story was, oh, my voice doesn't matter, nobody cares, nobody's listening, I should just stay quiet, I shouldn't share it anyway. And my whole self-image was based around a collapsing towards my voice. But then I started rewiring it and I started using all these different tools and going, this is all just a story. None of this means anything at all. If I had grown up in an environment where my voice had been like praised and like supported, and I had been put in more things. I was in like speakers club and all these things as a young kid, and like confidently speaking on stages, introducing Olympians and stuff. Like I had so many potential chances actually to be like really catalyzed and pushed forward in confidence in that area. But for whatever reason, there were other things that kind of had the adverse effect, and that became the lower level story. But when you look at your subconscious and the way you're currently identifying, if it's holding on to the negative story, all you need to do is stop clinging to that, let it go, and step into a different story and start going, what if actually I always believed my voice was really important? What if I had always spoken my truth my whole life? I would have no anxiety around it at all right now. I would have like no problem. It would be natural to me. I would value it. And that's where I'm going to wrap this up is, what do you need to start valuing in order to show up differently? Like I said, health, wealth, relationships, purpose, career. What else? I think I had one other one. But these areas in your life where you maybe feel you're currently lacking, and ask yourself 100,000% brutally, honestly, what is the current story? And am I actually valuing this area of my life? Because you could probably start valuing it more and seeing yourself as the person who prioritizes that, who values that. And that's immediately going to make you more successful in it. It's immediately going to allow you to take better actions. It's immediately going to elevate who you're being and how you're showing up, and therefore what you're not only creating, but also attracting. So you change how you see yourself, and the rest will shift around you. But you have to focus on that. Because if you keep seeing yourself from the old way, you'll just continue creating and attracting from the old way too. I have a ton of amazing resources on this. Check them out in the links below. That will help you shift your story, really step into your power. Yeah, start being who you know you're meant to be in all these different areas. And I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you again on the next video.